Hello everybody, and welcome back to ZakIsCinema. Yes, welcome home everybody. If you find that you just love ranking movies and ranking franchises, but have nobody that'll listen to you rank movies or rank your franchises, well, you don't have to worry and you don't have that problem anymore because I'll listen. Here, tell me right now. Okay, yeah, I agree. Maybe I even disagree. Okay, and that's okay because we can listen to each other talk about all of our favorite rankings because that's what we're going to do here. So, yes, we're not going to be doing a movie review. We are actually going to be ranking the Conjuring universe, but we are only going to be taking a look at the mainline Conjuring universe franchise, just the ones with Ed and Lorraine Warren here. So we got the first Conjuring, second one, Devil Made Me Do It, and then the newest one, Last Rites. So just those four movies, we are going to be ranking them from worst to best. So yes, let's jump into the ranking section here, starting with my last place, so my least favorite. We got coming in at number 4, The Conjuring, The Last Rites. Yes, our newest one here. Now, it's not like I had super high hopes for this movie, unfortunately, knowing it was I think same writing team and same director as our third one, and just ever since James Wong has so devastatingly left this franchise, it has just gone on a steep downhill decline, and they've just kind of turned into what they were trying to separate themselves from when our first two movies came out. So not super high expectations, but when I got finished watching this movie, I'm like, oh my god, I cannot remember the last time I was so bored in a movie, because this movie is just full of uneventful plot lines. Despite it being one of the longest movies in this franchise, it has the least amount of plot, least amount of tension, and it just kind of made me feel like I was watching the first draft of this movie and not the trimmed down final product. There's a 5-minute segment of Ed Warren and Judy's boyfriend vigorously playing ping pong, and I'm like, guys, we are in a Conjuring movie here. What are we doing? It's like a 20-minute segment of Ed Warren's birthday party with no scares happening either. And I think the thing that made me disengage with it the most is Judy's storyline and how it really adds nothing new. The movie spends a huge chunk rehashing what we kind of already knew about Judy's ability and how she's kind of demonic sensitive, very similar to how Lorraine is, but we've kind of seen that when she had experiences with Annabelle and with the nun, and in the Annabelle Comes Home movie, we've kind of seen that, and it spends such a large chunk of this movie on Judy seeing things, and I'm like, yes, we have seen this before. You are not telling me anything new. And then she spends the whole time refusing to talk to anybody about it, specifically with her parents, and I'm like, Judy, the couple of people on this planet that would understand is your parents. There's no reason you would not tell your parents about this so that they could help and you guys could all work together. So it was just such a missed opportunity to really have a good Warren family story here too. Unfortunately, there's no standout scenes in here, very little tension or scare scenes. There's really no memorable just atmosphere to this movie, and we don't even get into the haunted house side of this Conjuring movie until about an hour and 20, an hour and a half into the movie here, and they're just unmemorable, too spread out, full of just no real tension here too, which was just so frustrating, and it all leading to a very weak and laughable climax where the final battle resolves around a spinning mirror, and it all of a sudden turns into a trash compactor as it slowly pushes the Warrens and Judy's boyfriend down the hallway, and they resolve it by Judy and Lorraine kind of facing their demons literally by looking into a mirror and like screaming at it, and it stops the possessed scary mirror, and that's how they wrap everything up. And just a floating mirror is not that scary, and kind of a lame climax, and there's no real emotional side to this movie or narrative stakes for what's supposed to be the Warrens' final case and that push them into retirement, this is the least scariest Conjuring movie. This just seemed like it would be a normal kind of Tuesday afternoon for them, or a throwaway episode with no real consequences or weight to the movie. And you just don't even get any development with the family going through the possession stuff, which is, some of the best parts of the first two movies. And it's like they completely ignored that while stretching this movie out another hour longer than it needed to be. Maybe it's recency bias here, just how disappointed I was. But as of right now, my number 4 is the new one, The Conjuring Last Rites. But coming in at my number 3 spot, we got The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, or The Conjuring 3. If you've seen my review for this movie, you know that I said this is one of the most forgettable, just lackluster sequels. It was truly, when I went down to watch this again, it was like I was watching it for the first time. But when I watched it for this most recent review series, it actually had a stronger, more chaotic opening than I was really anticipating. I think the first 10-20 minutes of this movie is very interesting, very intense. It starts off with the family that we're going to be following, with this little boy that's already dealing with this demonic stuff. He's becoming full-blown possessed, and we kind of jump right into a third act climax with Ed and Lorraine Warren doing their exorcism stuff to this little boy to help save him and save his family. And I like how it kind of kicked off with the typical third act for a Conjuring movie, and instead threw that in the beginning. And then we also get kind of an emotional sacrifice from this brother's sister's boyfriend. I forget the names, but he kind of puts himself out there, allows the curse and possession to take over him to save this little boy, and now he has to deal with this possession without anybody knowing. So it sets up something very interesting. It sets up something we normally would see at the ending of a Conjuring movie, and then we kind of switch up the formula a little bit, which is very interesting because now Ed and Lorraine Warren have to track down this curse and this possession to try to prove to a court of law that the guy in this movie didn't just kill somebody, but he killed somebody because he was possessed or had this curse to him. So it's almost as a way for the Warrens to try to prove this to everybody else because they've already experienced and found out that it's true. So it kind of reverses the formula just a little bit, which I thought was very interesting. However, it's coming in at my 3rd spot because it was great premise, and I think they set up the story structure very well. Just they waste it from there, unfortunately. The idea of proving demonic possession in a court of law to a bunch of non-believers is very interesting, but that actual court side and proving the demon stuff takes up about 5 to 6 minutes of this movie's runtime and really doesn't get into it at all. It's not even so much a horror movie. It gets into more fantasy drama, especially with Lorraine's powers and the witch's cursing powers as well. Way too overpowered. It pushes that line to where the story based on true events, it's like not even believable. You can't even get past that or suspend your disbelief to that level. Lorraine in this movie is basically a psychic superhero to the point where she is sensing crime scenes in a moving car, solving murders within 30 seconds that a whole police force has been spending months on. It gets ridiculous super fast, unfortunately. And they kind of waste the witch's curse or witch's lore and that side of things, because I think a full-blown rated R witch story would work really well in the Conjuring movie, focusing more specifically on that occult witch stuff. But they kind of waste it. The witch kind of has similar powers as to Lorraine, and the witch is going to Lorraine's vision, and Lorraine's going to the witch's vision. So now where it's like multiverse superhero shit, which is just so frustrating and really just takes any of the scares, tension, or atmosphere away from this movie. And it's very forgettable, very generic, but it's coming in at my number 3 because I was at least somewhat interested. I didn't hate myself watching it. It's fine if you kind of have it on in the background kind of movie. So coming in at my number 3, we got The Conjuring 3. But coming in at my number 2, we got The Conjuring, the original. Now, obviously, there is a huge fucking leap from my bottom two to my top two. It's almost as if they were directed by two different people. Oh wait, they were. So those other two Conjuring movies, I truly don't think I'll ever watch again and just pretend it's these first two, because these first two are truly on another level. And this Conjuring movie, if you've seen my review, you know I have such a personal connection to it. It was one of the very first movies just that gave me nightmares and scared me and petrified me just based off its marketing alone. It was a movie that took me years to build up to even sit down and watch. And just growing up in a very religious home, these movies were like 10 times scarier to me than they probably were to most people. But it was the movie that really kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone. And once I got past my little boy scared feeling, I'm like, oh my God, I really do enjoy these types of movies here. And I think with The Conjuring, it takes that simple formula but shows why it's a cliche and does it very, very well here. I love the instant iconic tone setting with that brass heavy opening with the text crawl. I love the score to this movie and how all the brass instruments almost sound possessed. I just love the theme and tone and atmosphere here. Yes, it's a family moving into a home that ends up being possessed, but it works well with its great pacing, grounded characters, a sense of escalating dread, and families that you care about, and our introduction to the Warrens, which is Hollywood's like sweetest couple here. I think the child performers and this family as a whole really sell the tense scenes and really showcase that emotion, especially with the kid actors in here, because the scares could have come off as cheap and uninteresting, but they really sell that fear and that isolating dread that they're experiencing. And I think it sets up the Warrens and this family so well, where it takes time in the first act of the movie to set up both of them, and then you jump into it with your second and third act, so that way when the scares are going down, they're actually impactful. You feel some sort of intensity. You want to see this family get out of this, and you want to see the Warrens be the ones to help this family get out of situations like this. And I absolutely love the climax of the movie. I love how it kind of pushes it a little bit. It goes to the point where it's almost over the top, but feels grounded in the Conjuring universe. I think in my review, I said it was like a mix of The Exorcist and Evil Dead 2, and just combine in that serious but over the top kind of way. And it's very creepy, very unsettling. That basement is just such a creepy place to be doing an exorcism in. And then when the mom possessed by the witch is chasing her daughter through the crawl spaces and wall cavities of the home, I think it really pushes that climax to its full intensity. However, it is coming in at my second place because I think the investigative side comes across as kind of lazy and uninteresting, and was such a missed opportunity for this movie to not focus on Ed and Lorraine's investigative side. I feel like they completely missed that. The Warrens just tell this family that they have a guy that can look into the house's history, and then the very next scene, the Warrens are kind of sitting down, just going over the papers, literally reading off the house's lore to us, and it just felt like a missed opportunity to not have that mystery and discovery side. And I think in this one, they don't really get Lorraine's vision powers all that right. They come across as a little cheesy and almost like she is this superhero. We get flashbacks of her looking at the family and having these visions of black fog and demonic presence around the family, so she can kind of see into the afterlife. She is like grabbing pictures of the family and can put herself in that memory of the family and see them like skipping along the beach and everything just by holding a picture. And I'm like, that doesn't really translate well. This is supposed to be kind of grounded, and this is just coming off as not very grounded. So just a couple of minor nitpicks there, but overall a really great movie. And it was hard putting this one at 2 or this one at 1. Like really I could change between the two because this is a great horror movie that really stands the test of time here. So coming in at my number 2, we got the original The Conjuring. But that only leaves one left. Coming in at my number 1, we got The Conjuring 2. Now, this was the second horror movie I had ever seen in theaters. I believe the first one was The Visit that I saw, and this was the second one, and just one of the scariest horror experiences I have ever had in a theater. Obviously, because I grew up in a very religious home, and this was like my first theater experience. I'm sure it wasn't like that for everybody, but just have a lot of admiration for these first two Conjuring movies. And like I said, they're so close together. I could really interchange them. Just as of right now, I'm keeping the second one at number 1 here, and I have it at my number 1 because I really do love its opening. I like it significantly more than the first one because I don't really think that Annabelle stuff is very creepy or interesting at all. But instead, with this one, the opening at the Amityville horror house, and we get the introduction of the nun. They do a much better job at setting the tone, setting this creepy atmosphere, giving us something scary, and also showcasing Lorraine's vision powers in a more realistic but still cinematic kind of way that is more buyable. And I think the only movie in this franchise that has really made her powers feel cinematic but also grounded in some sort of way, like at least somewhat believable and buyable. And I think it translates the best in this movie. I love the quieter character moments in this. I think the movie does a better job at developing the family, developing the Warrens with their daughter Judy, but also more personal, sweet interactions with Ed interacting with the kids or with the wife of this home, and then Lorraine interacting with the kids and getting personal and really just trying to help this family kind of come together and fight together for their family. And I think it works so much better. And again, such a missed opportunity in those later movies that just kind of fucking ignore that part, even though it's the best part of this movie to me. I love how this movie really sets a lot of scares around nighttime as the kids are going to bed. I think it uses darkness, reflections, and eye tricks as you're looking into these dark corners in the rooms, and how it uses posters on these kids' walls to kind of mess with you a little bit. I think there's really standout scenes there, really builds up the dread without always showing the threat coming for our characters. I think there's great jump scares in here that are earned. This Is My House scene with old man Bill Wilkins behind the TV, the nun painting scene, the first nun scene. There's a lot of standout scenes that just like stick out in my head when I think of the Conjuring 2. And I really think my only real complaint with this movie is, again, just the lack of mystery, investigative side of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and how Lorraine figures out the nun's name, Valak, and now she has power over the demon. And she figures this out through a lazy kind of flashback, realizing that the first time she came in contact with the nun at her home, the nun gave her her name for some reason. Just Lorraine didn't realize that's what it was saying in the moment until she flashbacked and figured it out. Then she has the name and they kind of destroy him. So it wraps up kind of in a disappointing way, but it doesn't make me view the rest of the movie as that negative, or it doesn't really ruin my experience with it. Just a little frustrating, a little disappointing, but still coming in at my number 1, we got the Conjuring 2. But yeah, you guys have my ranking here for the mainline Conjuring universe movies, the ones just starring Ed and Lorraine. If you're interested, I have more in-depth videos on every single one of these movies, so feel free to check those out. But yeah, let me know your ranking down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on this franchise. Feel free to rank the entire franchise if you want to, or just the mainline Conjuring ones. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on this franchise down below here. But that's about it. I appreciate anybody watching my videos, so thank you so much. And yeah, look forward to more ZakIsCinema coming very soon.